So when you're piecing together a security system, what's on your checklist? You've got cameras, right? The network, of course. But what about the one thing that holds it all together? The storage. I mean, every single frame of footage has to go somewhere, and if that storage system fails, poof, your whole system is effectively blind. So let's talk about how to build a truly rock-solid foundation for all that critical surveillance data.
So let me ask you this, straight up. Is your storage the weakest link in your security system? And you really need to think about that, because relying on the basic, built-in storage that comes with your computer's operating system, well, that's like putting a cheap padlock on a bank vault. You're just asking for trouble, and it's going to fail you right when you need that footage the most.
And this slide, right here, really gets to the heart of the problem. You've got two totally different worlds. Over here, you've got your standard software RAID. Yeah, it's often free, built into the OS, but the thing is, it puts a huge strain on your main CPU. Performance is all over the place, and man, if a drive fails, the rebuilds take forever. But then look at what 24/7 surveillance demands. You can't compromise. You need rock-solid, stable throughput for all those camera feeds, you need total data integrity, and, this is the big one, zero dropped frames. They're just not playing the same game.
Okay, so that's exactly where our purpose-built solution comes into play. To tackle all those problems we just talked about, let's introduce the Areca ARC 1203 series. This thing is designed from the ground up to be the professional's choice for surveillance storage.
All right, the series basically comes in two main flavors. You've got the ARC 1203 4i. That's the one you see on the left. It's got one internal port, hooks up to 4 drives. Perfect for, say, a standard security setup in a small office or a shop. Then you've got its bigger brother on the right, the ARC 1203 8i. It doubles down with 2 ports, supporting up to 8 drives. Now you're talking about the kind of capacity you need for bigger jobs, warehouses, school campuses, places recording tons of cameras all at once.
So what's the secret sauce here? What actually makes these cards so much better than a software-only solution? Well, it all comes down to the dedicated hardware that's packed inside. Let's dig into how a dedicated processor can be the ultimate guardian for your footage.
The real magic here is something called a RAID-on-Chip, or ROC processor. The best way to think about it is like a dedicated brain that lives on the card, and its only job is storage. All of those complex calculations, all the heavy lifting needed to protect your data, it all happens on this chip. And this is the key takeaway. It completely frees up your computer's main CPU to do other things. That's what guarantees your video recording stays perfectly smooth and uninterrupted no matter what else that server is busy doing. Okay, let's quickly break down how this all works together. That ARM processor, that's the engine, right? It's the powerhouse doing all the heavy RAID math. Then you have the ECC cache memory. Think of that like a super fast protected loading dock for your video data. It makes sure nothing gets damaged or corrupted on its way to the drives. And finally, the PCIe interface. That's the super fast highway that connects the card to your server's motherboard. It's this combination of parts working together that gives you a system with no bottlenecks, just pure reliability.
But it's not just about the raw hardware. Beyond those core specs, these cards are just packed with features that give you what I like to call data insurance. We're talking about enterprise-grade protections built for those systems that absolutely, positively, can never, ever go down.
So let's start with just a number. 6. What on earth does the number 6 have to do with protecting your most critical evidence?
Well, it means RAID 6. And let me tell you, this is an incredible level of protection. See, most basic RAID setups, they can handle 1 drive failing. That's pretty standard. But RAID 6, it lets you lose up to 2 drives at the exact same time, and you still won't lose a single frame of video. For any kind of critical system, this kind of redundancy isn't just nice to have, it is an absolute game changer.
And the protection just keeps going. I mean, think about the what-ifs. What if you're running out of space? No problem. You can add more capacity without taking the system offline. What if the power goes out? There's an optional battery backup that makes sure any data that was in transit gets saved safely. And the system is really smart too. It can automatically spot a failing drive, kick in a spare, and start rebuilding all by itself, often before you even knew there was a problem to begin with. That's true peace of mind.
Okay, so we know our data is super well protected, but how do you manage it all? How do you keep an eye on things? Well, this is another area where the ARC 1203 series really shines. It lets you monitor and control everything from anywhere. And the best part is, you don't have to install any clunky software on your server.
You basically have 2 great ways to do it. The first is the Mech BIOS utility. This is a tool that's built right into the card itself, into its firmware. It lets you configure your entire storage setup before your main operating system even starts to boot up.
Then, for your everyday management and monitoring, you've got the Mech RAID Web Manager. You get a full graphical interface just by plugging a network cable into the card's own dedicated LAN port.
And here's what that Mac BIOS utility looks like. Yeah, it's a simple text-based interface, but it's powerful. You get to it right when the machine is booting up. And the real beauty of this approach is that it's completely independent of your operating system. It doesn't care if you're using Windows, Linux, whatever. You can get your storage array built and ready to go right from here.
All right, now this is the web interface you'd use for your day-to-day monitoring. And check this out. Because it runs through its own dedicated network port right on the card, we call this out-of-band management. What that means is, even if your server's entire operating system completely crashes and goes offline, you can still log into this interface from another computer to check the health of your drives. Now that is a truly professional-level feature.
So, let's pull this all together. When you look at the whole package, the dedicated performance, the enterprise-grade data protection, and the price point, the ARC 1203 really starts to look like one of the smartest investments you can possibly make for your security setup.
And let's talk about the price tag. You're getting all of this professional-grade hardware RAID for somewhere in the range of $350 to $500. I mean, when you stop and think about the value of the video footage it's protecting, that is an incredible deal. It makes moving away from the risks of software RAID a no-brainer.
And what about performance? What do you get for that investment? You're looking at a stable, consistent speed of about 500 to 600 megabytes per second. To put that in perspective, that's more than enough muscle to handle tons of high-def video streams at once, writing them all to disk perfectly without ever missing a beat, and more importantly, without ever dropping a single critical frame of evidence.
So when it comes down to it, here's the best way to think about the ARC 1203. It's like the manager of a bank vault for your surveillance system. It's that silent, incredibly reliable component that just works 24/7, making absolutely sure that every single frame of your valuable footage is locked down and protected. And that really leaves you with one final question to ask yourself. Right now, is your critical footage being stored in a shoebox or is it in a vault?